The bridge of the Harmony's edge buzzed with the usual sounds of deep space patrol. Captain Vex drummed his 4 fingers against his command chair, watching the stars drift past on the main screen. His blue skin had a tired look to it. 3 months into their survey mission, and they had found nothing but empty space and dead rocks. "Captain," called Communications Officer Dale from her station. Her insect-like eyes focused on her displays. "I'm picking up something strange." Vex straightened up. After weeks of silence, any signal was interesting. "What kind of strange?" "It's a distress beacon." "But sir," Dale paused, her antenna twitching with worry. "It's coming from the Sol system." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew about Sol 3. It was the first planet ever given a Class 20 rating. The highest danger level possible. Nothing lived on Class 20 worlds, nothing could. Science Officer Kira looked up from her research station. Her green fur stood on end with excitement. "Captain, that's impossible. Sol 3 is a death world. The air itself kills most known life forms." Vex nodded slowly. He had read the reports. Sol 3 had crushing gravity, deadly radiation, poisonous gases in the atmosphere, and weather so violent it could destroy entire cities. The planet's surface was covered with creatures so dangerous that even the bravest explorers refused to land there. "Maybe the beacon is old," suggested Navigator Tom. His tentacles moved nervously over his controls. "Could be from one of the early survey teams." Dale shook her head. "No, sir. This signal is fresh, less than 6 hours old." Vex stood up and walked to the main screen. The Sol system appeared as a small dot of light. It looked peaceful from here. Hard to believe it contained one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. "Captain," Kira said quietly, "if someone is alive in that system, we have to help them." "Security." Chief Braun laughed from his position near the weapons console. His massive frame shook with amusement. "Help them? Kira, nothing survives on a Class 20 world. This is probably just a broken probe sending false signals." But Kira wouldn't give up. "What if you're wrong? What if someone is really out there, waiting for rescue?" Vex thought about it. They were 3 days away from their next scheduled stop. The distress beacon was a mystery that needed solving, and if someone was actually alive in the Sol system, they would die without help. "Dale, can you get more details on that signal?" Dale's fingers moved over her controls. "Working on it, Captain. The signal is coming from... Wait." Her eyes widened. "Sir, it's not coming from the planet. It's coming from orbit." "A ship?" Vex asked. "Negative. The signal pattern matches a standard emergency life pod." Medical Officer Thal spoke up from his corner station. His voice was always calm and professional. "Captain, if there is a survivor in that life pod, they won't last long. Most species can only survive in emergency pods for a few days." Vex made his decision. "Tom, set course for the Sol system. Maximum safe speed." Braun stepped forward. "Captain, I must object. Approaching a Class 20 system violates safety protocols. We could be putting the entire crew at risk." "Noted, Braun. But we're not landing on the planet, we're just checking orbit." The journey took 18 hours. As they got closer to Sol 3, the crew grew more nervous. The planet looked beautiful from space, blue and white and green like a jewel floating in the darkness. But everyone knew that beauty was hiding deadly secrets. "There," Dale pointed at her screen. "I've got the life pod on sensors." The main screen switched to show a small, dark object drifting in space. It was clearly damaged with burn marks along its sides and several hull breaches that had been sealed with emergency foam. "Life signs?" Vex asked. Thal checked his medical sensors. "One life form. Barely alive, but stable. Whatever species it is, it's tough to survive this long in that damaged pod." Vex studied the pod on the screen. It didn't look like any design he recognized. The hull was made from some kind of metal alloy that seemed primitive compared to standard galactic technology. "Can we bring it aboard?" Engineer Nix looked up from his station. "The pod is small enough for Bay 2. But Captain, we should scan it first. We don't know what kind of contamination it might carry." "Do it." For the next hour, they ran every scan they could think of. The results were puzzling. The pod contained no dangerous chemicals or radiation. The life form inside seemed harmless. Small, weak, with no apparent natural weapons or defenses. It's safe to bring aboard, Thal reported. Whatever this creature is, it poses no physical threat. Vex nodded. Bring it in. The crew gathered in Bay 2 as the pod was carefully moved inside the ship. Up close, it looked even more primitive. The metal was scratched and dented. The emergency seals looked like they had been applied by hand. Who builds ships like this? Nix wondered aloud. This technology is at least 50 years behind standard galactic designs. Thal approached the pod with his medical scanner. The life form is unconscious but breathing. Heart rate is slow but steady. I think it's in some kind of emergency sleep state. Can you open it safely? Yes. The pod's life support is almost dead anyway. If we don't get this creature to a proper medical bay soon, it will die. The pod opened with a soft hiss of escaping air. Inside, lying on a simple cushioned surface, was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. It was bipedal, like many galactic species, but smaller than most. Its skin was pale and soft-looking, with no fur, scales, or natural armor. Hair covered only the top of its head. It wore simple clothing made from woven fibers. No weapons were visible. It looked so fragile, Kira whispered. Thal ran his scanner over the unconscious creature. Fascinating. Its bone structure is denser than it appears. Muscle development is significant despite the slim build. But yes, compared to most species, it does seem delicate. Braun snorted. This thing survived on a Class 20 Deathworld. Look at it. I could break it in half with one hand. Don't underestimate unknowns, Vex warned. Get it to medical. I want a full analysis. As they carefully moved the unconscious, being to the medical bay, none of them realized what they had just brought aboard their ship. They thought they had rescued a weak survivor from an impossible situation. They had no idea they had just encountered their first human. In the medical bay, the creature, the human, lay still on the examination table. Thal worked quietly, checking vital signs and taking readings. Everything about this being seemed wrong for a Class 20 survivor. Captain, Thal called over the comm. You need to see this. Vex arrived in medical to find Thal staring at his readings with confusion. What is it? This creature's body temperature runs much hotter than normal. Its metabolism is incredibly fast. And Captain... Thal paused. Its blood carries oxygen in a way I've never seen before. It's like its entire system is designed to burn energy at maximum efficiency. What does that mean? I'm not sure, but whatever world this creature comes from, it must require tremendous energy just to stay alive. No wonder it looks so fragile. It's probably burning through resources faster than most species can even process them. On the table, the human stirred slightly. Its eyes moved behind closed lids, and its breathing deepened. It's waking up, Thal said. Vex activated the comm. All senior staff to medical bay, our guest is about to wake up. As the crew gathered, none of them expected what was about to happen. They thought they were meeting a grateful survivor who would thank them for the rescue. They had no idea they were about to meet Jake, a human who would change everything they thought they knew about survival, strength, and what it meant to come from a death world. The human's eyes opened, and the real discovery was about to begin. The human's eyes opened slowly. They were a strange brown color that seemed to catch the light. For a moment, Jake lay perfectly still, taking in his surroundings. His gaze moved from face to face, studying each alien crew member with calm attention. Most rescued survivors would panic at seeing strange beings around them. They would cry, scream, or beg for help. Jake did none of these things. Instead, he sat up smoothly and smiled. Hello, he said in perfect galactic standard. Thank you for picking me up. The crew exchanged surprised looks. How did this creature know their language? You speak standard? Captain Vex asked. I speak several languages, Jake replied casually. Your translation systems helped me learn yours during the rescue. I hope you don't mind. Thal stepped forward with his medical scanner. Please lie back down. I need to run more tests to make sure you're healthy. Jake looked at the scanner with interest. That's a Mark 7 bioreader, isn't it? Nice equipment. But I feel fine, really. Now Kira was staring. How do you know about our medical equipment? I pay attention, Jake said simply. He swung his legs off the examination table and stood up. The movement was fluid and controlled, like a dancer or fighter. Wait! Braun stepped forward, his massive frame blocking the door. You need to stay here for quarantine. Standard safety rules. Jake looked up at the security chief. Braun was twice his size and covered in thick scales that could stop most weapons. His forearms ended in claws that could tear through metal. He looked like the ultimate warrior. I understand your rules, Jake said politely. But I'm not sick, and I'd prefer not to be locked up right now. It's not about what you prefer, Braun said firmly. It's about ship safety. I see. Jake nodded thoughtfully. And if I refuse to cooperate? Braun's claws extended slightly. Then I'll make you cooperate. What happened next took less than 3 seconds. Jake moved forward so fast that most of the crew didn't see it. One moment he was standing calmly by the medical table. The next moment Braun was on the floor groaning in pain. Jake stood over him, completely relaxed. Sorry about that, Jake said, helping the much larger alien back to his feet. You startled me, I was just stretching. Braun stared at him in shock. The security chief had trained for years in combat. He had fought pirates, raiders, and dangerous creatures across the galaxy. He had never been taken down so easily. How did you? Braun started to ask. Stretching, Jake repeated with an innocent smile. I've been in that pod for days. My muscles were getting stiff. Captain Vex felt a chill run down his spine. This was not normal. Survivors from Deathworlds were supposed to be broken, traumatized, grateful for rescue. They were not supposed to casually disable trained security officers while claiming to stretch. Perhaps we should all sit down and talk, Vex suggested carefully. They moved to the ship's main conference room. Jake walked between them with easy confidence, looking around with obvious curiosity. He asked questions about the ship's design, the crew's species, and their mission in space. This is a nice ship, Jake commented as they entered the conference room. Modified Galactic Survey class, right? But you've upgraded the engines and added extra shielding. Smart choices. Engineer Nix blinked in surprise. How can you tell all that just by walking through the hallways? I notice things, Jake said. He sat down in a chair that was too big for him but somehow made it look comfortable. It's a survival skill where I come from. Speaking of where you come from, Kira said excitedly, we'd love to hear about your world. The records say Sol 3 is completely hostile to life. Jake laughed. It was a warm, human sound that somehow made the aliens feel both comforted and nervous at the same time. Sol 3, is that what you call it? We just call it Earth. Earth, Vex repeated. Tell us about Earth. What would you like to know? Everything, Kira said quickly. How do you survive there? What do you eat? Where do you live? Jake thought for a moment. Well, Earth has about 8 billion people on it. We live in cities, towns, farms. We eat plants and animals. We work, play, raise families. Pretty normal stuff, really. The conference room went silent. 8 billion? Thal whispered. People? Dale added. You mean there are more of you? Vex asked. Oh, yes. Lots more. I'm just one guy. Jake seemed puzzled by their reactions. Did you think I was the only one? Braun leaned forward, his pride still hurt from being thrown to the floor. The galactic records say your planet kills everything that tries to live there. Earth can be dangerous, Jake agreed, but it's home. We've learned to work with it. Work with it? Kira's scientific mind was racing. How do you work with a Class 20 Deathworld? Is that what you rated it? Class 20? Jake considered this. I guess that makes sense from your perspective. Earth is pretty intense if you're not used to it. Intense? Thal pulled up his medical readings on Jake. Your planet's atmosphere contains over 20% poison gas. Jake looked confused. Poison gas? Oh, you mean oxygen. Yeah, we need that to live, don't you? Oxygen is highly corrosive, Nix explained. It burns through most materials. Most species can only handle trace amounts. Huh. Jake scratched his head. That's interesting. We breathe it all the time. Can't live without it, actually. The ship's computer chose that moment to finish its analysis of Jake's biology. Thal's medical station started beeping with alerts. Captain, Thal said, his voice shaking slightly. The computer has finished analyzing our guest. What did it find? Thal read from his screen. Bone density 3 times galactic average. Muscle fiber tensile strength off the scale. Reaction time faster than our sensors can measure. And his body temperature. Thal paused. His body temperature runs so hot it should kill him. Jake listened to this with interest. That seems about right. Humans do run pretty warm. This is impossible, Braun muttered. Nothing can be built like this and still function. I function fine, Jake said cheerfully. Though I am getting a bit hungry. Do you have any food on this ship? What do you eat? Kira asked nervously. Pretty much anything. Fruits, vegetables, grains, meat. Meat? The word came out as a horrified whisper from several crew members. Sure. Beef, chicken, fish, pork, good protein. Jake noticed their expressions. You guys don't eat meat? Consuming the flesh of other creatures is... Thal struggled for words. It's considered a sign of extreme barbarism. Most civilized species evolved past that millions of years ago. Oh. Jake looked embarrassed. Sorry, I didn't know that was weird for you. We can eat plants too. Whatever you have is fine. Dale spoke quietly from her communication station. Captain, I've been scanning the Sol system while we talked. I'm picking up massive energy signatures from the planet. What kind of signatures? Cities, sir? Enormous cities and ships. Thousands of ships moving around the planet and through the system. Jake nodded. Yeah, Earth's pretty busy. We've got a lot going on. Captain Vex felt the universe shifting around him. Everything they thought they knew about Deathworlds, about survival, about the limits of life itself, was wrong. Jake, he said carefully, are all humans like you? Like me, how? Strong, fast, able to survive in impossible conditions. Jake shrugged. I'm pretty average, actually. There are humans much stronger and faster than me. I'm just a maintenance engineer, from a cargo ship. The silence that followed was deafening. Braun, the warrior who had been casually defeated by a maintenance engineer, put his head in his hands. Kira stared at Jake like he was the most fascinating scientific discovery in galactic history. Thal kept checking his medical readings, unable to believe what his instruments were telling him, and Captain Vex realized that they hadn't rescued a survivor from a death world. They had made first contact with a species that treated death worlds like home. Jake, Vex said slowly, I think we need to have a much longer conversation. Jake smiled, that friendly, innocent smile that was becoming more terrifying by the minute. Sure, Captain, I've got time. Captain Vex called for a formal meeting in the main briefing room. The entire senior staff gathered around the large table with Jake sitting comfortably at one end. He had been given a simple meal of fruits and vegetables which he ate with obvious enjoyment. This is really good, Jake said, biting into something that looked like a purple apple. We have similar fruits on Earth, but this has a nice tangy flavor. Vex cleared his throat. Jake, we need to understand more about your world. Our records show that Sol 3, that Earth, is completely hostile to life. I keep hearing that, Jake said, putting down his fruit. But I'm curious about your records. When did your people last visit Earth? Kira checked her data pad. The last survey mission was about 60 years ago. It was a long-range scan only. No one actually went to the planet. 60 years? Jake looked surprised. That explains a lot. Earth has changed quite a bit since then. Changed how? Thal asked. Well, we've cleaned up a lot of the pollution, built better cities, improved our technology, made peace with most of the dangerous animals. Braun snorted. Made peace with dangerous animals, what does that even mean? Jake thought about it. Well, take sharks for example. They used to kill maybe 10 humans per year. Now it's down to about 5. We learned to understand them better. Sharks? Dale asked nervously. Ocean predators. Big teeth. Very fast. They're actually pretty amazing creatures once you get to know them. The crew exchanged worried looks. This casual discussion of deadly predators was not helping their nerves. Let's start with basics, Vex suggested. Tell us about Earth's environment. Our records mention extreme weather. Oh, the weather can be pretty wild, Jake agreed. We get hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, heat waves. Last year we had a hurricane with winds over 200 kilometers per hour. 200, Nix whispered. That would destroy most cities. Yeah, it knocked down a lot of trees and damaged some buildings, but we rebuilt pretty quickly. Humans are good at rebuilding. Kira leaned forward with scientific interest. What about the gravity? Our measurements show it's much stronger than standard. Standard gravity is pretty weak, Jake said. Earth gravity keeps us in good shape. Though I have to admit, moving around your ship feels pretty easy, like everything is lighter. Your planet's gravity is crushing, Thal explained. Most species would be flattened instantly. Jake looked genuinely surprised. Really? What kind of gravity do you normally live with? When Thal told him, Jake whistled, softly. Wow. That's like living on the moon for us. No wonder you all seem so delicate. The word delicate hung in the air. Coming from someone who looked fragile compared to most of them, it felt like an insult, but given what they had seen of Jake's capabilities, it might also be accurate. Tell us about these dangerous creatures, Braun demanded. Our scans detected massive life forms with incredible hunting abilities. Oh, you mean the big animals? Yeah. Earth has some impressive wildlife. Lions, tigers, bears, elephants, whales. Some of them are pretty dangerous if you're not careful. How do you survive with such predators? Jake shrugged. We're smarter than they are, and we stick together. Humans are pack hunters. We work as teams. Pack hunters? The term sent chills through the crew. Pack hunters were among the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. Sure, we've always worked together to survive. That's how we became the top species on Earth. Top species? Kira asked faintly. Well, yeah. We're the apex predators. Nothing hunts humans anymore. We're at the top of the food chain. The conference room fell silent. The implications of this statement were staggering. Jake was casually describing his species as the ultimate predators on a world full of creatures that would terrify most galactic civilizations. How many of these dangerous animals exist on Earth? Vex asked carefully. Jake thought about it. Millions of species, though most of them are pretty small. Insects, fish, birds. The really big predators are less common now. Less common. We used to have a lot more. But humans have been spreading across the planet for thousands of years. The big dangerous animals learned to avoid us, or we learned to manage them. Manage them how? Thal asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Different ways. Some we hunt for food, some we protect in special areas. Some we've domesticated. Domesticated? Yeah, we've turned some of the predators into companions. Dogs, cats, horses, they live with us and help us with various tasks. Dale made a choking sound. You keep predators as pets? Dogs aren't really predators anymore. We bred them to be friendly and helpful, though I guess their ancestors were wolves, which are definitely predators. You took wild predators and changed them into companions? Nix asked in amazement. Over thousands of years, yeah. Selective breeding. We're pretty good at shaping other species to work with us. The crew stared at him. The casual way Jake described manipulating entire species was deeply unsettling. What about your technology? Kira asked, trying to change the subject. The life pod you were in seemed quite primitive. Jake laughed. That old thing? Yeah, it was just a basic emergency pod from a cargo hauler. Nothing fancy. We saved the good tech for important stuff. What kind of good tech? Faster than light travel, energy weapons, planetary defense systems. The usual stuff. You have FTL travel? Vex asked sharply. Of course. How do you think I got out here? Though I have to say, your ship's FTL system is interesting, different approach than what we use. Captain Vex felt a cold dread settling over him. Jake, how long have humans had FTL technology? Oh, about 40 years now. We've been exploring the local systems, mapping everything, learning about our neighbors. Learning about your neighbors? Sure. We've been watching the galactic civilizations for decades. Learning your languages, studying your cultures, figuring out how everything works. Dale suddenly looked up from her communication station. Captain, I'm detecting ships approaching our position. What kind of ships? Jake smiled. Probably my rescue team. I sent out a signal when I woke up. Let them know I was safe. Your rescue team? Yeah, they've been looking for me since my cargo ship had problems. Should be here in a few minutes. The main screen flickered to life, showing the approaching vessels. What the crew saw made their blood run cold. 3 ships were approaching, each one larger and more advanced than the Harmony's Edge. Their hulls were sleek and dark, with no visible weapons but an unmistakable sense of barely contained power. Those are human ships? Vex asked weakly. Yep. Looks like they sent a full search and rescue team. That's nice of them. The lead ship opened a communication channel. A voice came through the speakers, speaking in the same language Jake used. Jake, this is Commander Lisa aboard the Earthstar. Are you injured? Jake activated the comm system. I'm fine, Lisa. These nice people picked me up. Very friendly crew. Copy that. Do you need immediate extraction? Jake looked around the conference room at the stunned alien faces. Actually, I think I'll stay and chat a bit longer. These folks have some interesting questions about Earth. Understood. We'll maintain position and wait for your signal. The comm channel closed. Jake turned back to the crew with that same friendly smile. So what else would you like to know about Earth? Captain Vex realized that everything had changed. They weren't dealing with a survivor from a Deathworld. They were dealing with representatives of a civilization that had been watching them, studying them, learning about them for decades. Jake, Vex said carefully, why haven't humans made contact with the galactic community before now? Jake's expression became more serious. Honestly, we weren't sure how you'd react to people like us. Humans can be pretty intimidating when you first meet us. Intimidating? Well, we're predators from a death world. We eat meat, fight constantly, and turn other species into pets. We thought you might be scared of us. Looking around the table at the terrified faces of his crew, Captain Vex realized that Jake's concerns had been entirely justified. They were scared, very scared, and Jake had just told them that he was one of the nice ones. The conversation continued for another hour, with Jake patiently answering questions about Earth and human civilization. The crew learned that humans had colonies on 12 different worlds, a space navy that patrolled 3 star systems, and trade agreements with species the galactic community had never even heard of. We prefer to stay quiet, Jake explained. Humans learned long ago that it's better to watch and understand before making big announcements. Suddenly, Dale's communication station erupted with alarms. Captain, she called out urgently. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. They're not human. The main screen showed 6 vessels emerging from hyperspace. They were dark, angular ships with weapon ports clearly visible along their hulls. Pirates, Braun growled, his warrior instincts kicking in. Razor Syndicate by the look of their ships. Jake looked interested. Pirates? You get a lot of trouble with them out here? The Razor Syndicate controls this sector, Vex explained. Tersely, they attack survey ships, steal cargo, take prisoners for ransom. That sounds unpleasant, Jake said calmly. The lead pirate ship opened a communication channel. A harsh voice filled the bridge. Survey vessel, this is Captain Rex of the Razor Fleet. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist and we'll blast you into scrap. Vex looked at his crew. The Harmony's Edge was not a warship. They had light shields and basic weapons, but nothing that could fight 6 pirate vessels. Options? He asked quietly. We could run, Tom suggested. Try to reach the hyperspace limit. They'd catch us before we got halfway there, Braun said grimly. We could send a distress signal, Dale offered. To who? We're 3 days from the nearest patrol. Jake stood up from his chair. Captain, if I may make a suggestion? By all means. Let me help. Braun laughed bitterly. No offense, Jake, but what can one person do against 6 warships? Probably quite a lot, actually. Jake's voice remained calm and friendly. But first, can I see your ship's technical specifications? What for? I have some ideas about improving your defensive capabilities. Nix looked skeptical. You're a cargo ship engineer. What do you know about military systems? All human engineers learn basic military applications, Jake said. It's part of our standard education. With nothing to lose, Vex authorized Jake to access their technical database. Jake spent exactly 4 minutes reading through the ship's entire technical manual. Okay, he said finally. I can increase your shield strength by about 300% and boost your weapon output by roughly the same amount. That's impossible, Nix protested. These systems are already running at maximum efficiency. Maximum efficiency for your technology? Yes, but there are some simple modifications that could help. Jake moved to Nix's engineering station and began making adjustments. His fingers flew over the controls with impossible speed and precision. What are you doing? Nix asked nervously. Rerouting power flow through secondary conduits, adjusting harmonic frequencies in the shield generators, and recalibrating the weapon targeting systems. Jake paused. Don't worry, these changes are completely reversible. Warning lights flashed across the engineering station as Jake worked. Power readings spiked, then stabilized at levels far higher than anyone had thought possible. How did you? Nick started to ask. Your species builds very safe, stable systems, Jake explained while he worked. Humans build systems that can be pushed much harder when necessary. I'm just applying some of our techniques to your equipment. The pirate ships were getting closer. Captain Rex's voice came over the comm again. Final warning, survey ship. Surrender now or face destruction. They're powering up weapons, Dale reported. Jake finished his modifications and stepped back. Okay, your defenses should hold now, but I think we can end this without much fighting. How? Let me talk to them. Vex stared at him. You want to negotiate with pirates? Not negotiate exactly. More like, explain the situation. Against his better judgment, Vex opened a communication channel. Pirate ships, this is the survey vessel Harmony's Edge. We have a diplomatic representative who would like to speak with you. Captain Rex laughed harshly. Diplomatic representative? You think you can talk your way out of this? Jake stepped forward to the comm station. Hello, Captain Rex. My name is Jake. I'm a human. There was a long pause. A what? A human. From Earth. Sol 3, you probably call it. Another pause. Longer this time. That's impossible. Nothing lives on Sol 3. Actually, about 8 billion of us live there, and we really don't like pirates. You're lying, Jake sighed. I was hoping we could settle this peacefully, but if you insist on fighting... He turned to Captain Vex. Can you open a channel to my rescue ships? Of course. Lisa, this is Jake. We have a small pirate problem here. 6 ships, Razor Syndicate. Commander Lisa's voice came through clearly. Copy that, Jake. Do you want us to handle it? No, I think I can manage, but stay ready in case things get complicated. Jake closed the channel to the human ships and reopened the one to the pirates. Captain Rex, you have 30 seconds to leave. This is your only warning. Rex's laughter was loud and mocking. One cargo engineer thinks he can threaten the Razor Syndicate? You're insane. Probably, Jake agreed cheerfully. But I'm also serious. 20 seconds now. All ships, attack formation, Rex shouted. Destroy that survey vessel, the 6th pirate. Ships moved into attack position and opened fire. What happened next would be talked about in spacer bars for years to come. Jake's modifications to the Harmony's Edge worked exactly as promised. Enemy fire splashed harmlessly off shields that glowed brighter than stars. The survey ship's weapons, now operating at impossible power levels, struck back with devastating accuracy. But the real surprise came when Jake calmly walked to the transporter pad. Jake, what are you doing? Vex called out. Going over there to end this. Jake held up a simple maintenance tool he had borrowed from engineering. Can someone beam me to their lead ship? You want to board a pirate vessel? Alone? With a plasma cutter? It's just basic maintenance work, Jake said with that terrifying, innocent smile. I'm good at fixing problems. Before anyone could stop him, Jake activated the transporter himself. For the next 10 minutes, the crew of the Harmony's Edge watched their sensors in stunned silence. Jake's life sign moved through the pirate ship like a force of nature. Weapon signatures appeared and disappeared, bulkheads were breached, power systems failed and came back online, and one by one the pirate crew's life signs went from active to unconscious. Finally, Jake's voice came over the comm from the pirate ship's bridge. Captain Rex has decided to surrender. So have his crews. They're all unharmed, just taking a little nap. The 5 remaining pirate ships had stopped firing. Their weapons powered down and distress beacons began broadcasting surrender signals. 20 minutes later, Jake transported back to the Harmony's Edge. He looked exactly the same as when he left. Calm, friendly, not even breathing hard. All done, he announced. They won't be bothering anyone for a while. Thal quickly scanned Jake with his medical equipment. You're not injured at all. Why would I be injured? They were just pirates. Just pirates? Braun stared at him. The Razor Syndicate are some of the most dangerous criminals in the galaxy. They've been terrorizing shipping lanes for 15 years, Jake shrugged. They weren't very good at fighting. Too much reliance on weapons, not enough focus on tactics. Captain Vex looked at the 6 disabled pirate ships drifting in space. Jake, what exactly did you do over there? Standard crowd control techniques, nothing fancy. I disabled their weapons, shut down their engines, and encouraged them to reconsider their career choices. In 10 minutes? I work fast when I need to. Dale looked up from her sensor readings. Captain, I'm detecting galactic patrol ships approaching. Looks like someone called for help. That would be me, Jake said. I sent a message to the local authorities while I was on the pirate ship. They'll want to arrest the Razor Syndicate crew. Piracy is illegal, right? 3 galactic patrol vessels dropped out of hyperspace and began taking the pirates into custody. Their commander sent a message thanking the crew of the Harmony's Edge for their assistance in capturing one of the most wanted pirate gangs in the sector. As they watched the patrol ships work, Kira asked the question everyone was thinking. Jake, how strong are humans compared to other galactic species? Jake considered this seriously. Honestly, I'm not sure. We don't usually compare ourselves to other species. But if today was any indication... He paused. Maybe we're a bit stronger than average. Thal checked his medical readings again. Throughout the entire fight, Jake's heart rate had barely increased. His stress levels remained completely normal. As far as his body was concerned, disabling 6 ships full of armed pirates had been as easy as taking a walk. A bit stronger than average, Vex repeated quietly. Yeah, though like I said, I'm pretty typical for a human. We're just maintenance engineers and cargo haulers mostly. The crew of the Harmony's Edge sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had witnessed. If Jake was a typical human, and humans were just maintenance engineers and cargo haulers, then what were their actual soldiers like? It was a question none of them really wanted answered. The news of the Razor Syndicate's capture spread through galactic communication networks faster than light itself. Within hours, every major news service was reporting the same impossible story. A single being from an unknown species had defeated 6 pirate ships without weapons, armor, or backup. Captain Vex sat in his quarters reading the incoming messages with growing amazement. The Galactic Council wanted a full report. Military commanders were requesting detailed tactical analysis. Scientists were demanding biological data on the new species. Captain, Dale's voice came over the intercom. You need to see this. Vex made his way to the bridge where the crew had gathered around the main communication station. Jake stood nearby, looking mildly embarrassed. What's happening? Messages. Sir, hundreds of them. Everyone wants to know about humans. The main screen showed a flood of incoming communications. Military officials, scientific institutions, government representatives, and news agencies from across the galaxy were all trying to contact the Harmony's Edge. They're calling humans the Deathworld warriors, Kira reported, reading from her datapad. Some news services are claiming we've discovered the galaxy's most dangerous species. Jake winced. That's exactly what we were worried about. What do you mean? Vex asked. This is why humans haven't made contact before. We knew this would happen. Jake gestured at the screen full of messages. Everyone would either be terrified of us or want to use us as weapons. Before Vex could respond, the ship's proximity alarm started sounding. 3 more ships were dropping out of hyperspace. More pirates? Braun asked, reaching for his weapons. No, Dale said, checking her sensors. These are different, much bigger. And they're broadcasting diplomatic codes. The lead ship was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Harmony's Edge. Its hull was pristine white with gold markings, the colors of the Galactic Council. This is Admiral Stone of the Council Fleet, a stern voice announced. We're here to escort the human representative to the Council chambers for immediate debriefing. Jake sighed deeply. Here we go. You don't sound happy about this, Vex observed. Would you be? They want to parade me in front of the Council like some kind of exotic animal. Ask me how humans fight, what our weaknesses are, whether we're planning to conquer anyone. The comm system activated again. Human representative, prepare for immediate transport to our flagship. Jake shook his head. Not happening. He activated the communication system himself. Admiral Stone, this is Jake. I appreciate the invitation, but I'll have to decline. This is not a request. The Council has declared this a matter of galactic security, and I've declared it a matter of human security. My people don't respond well to threats or forced interviews. There was a long pause before the Admiral spoke again. Are you refusing a direct order from the Galactic Council? I'm explaining that humans value their independence. If the Council wants to meet with us, they can send a proper diplomatic request through official channels. What official channels? Your species isn't recognized by galactic law. Jake's friendly demeanor became noticeably cooler. Admiral, I suggest you be very careful with your next words. Humans may not be part of your galactic community, but we exist whether you recognize us or not. Captain Vex felt the temperature in the room seem to drop. For the first time since meeting Jake, he sensed something dangerous beneath the human's calm exterior. Is that a threat? Admiral Stone demanded. It's a fact. Humans have been watching galactic civilization for decades. We know how your politics work, how your military operates, and how your economies function. We've chosen to stay independent. Don't try to force us to change that choice. The Council ships moved into what looked like an attack formation. Weapon ports opened along their hulls. Stand down immediately or face the consequences, Admiral Stone ordered. That's when Jake's rescue ships decided to make themselves known. The 3 human vessels had been waiting quietly in the shadow of a nearby asteroid. Now they moved into the open and their true size became apparent. Each ship was larger than the Council flagship, with sleek, dark hulls that seemed to absorb light. Admiral, Commander Lisa's voice came over the comm. This is the Earth Defense Force. You have threatened a human citizen. Stand down immediately. Earth Defense Force? Admiral Stone sounded confused. We have no record of any Earth military. That's because we didn't want you to have records. But since you forced the issue, let me explain the situation. You are currently facing 3 Class A warships of the Human Space Navy. Each ship carries enough firepower to level a small moon. You have 30 seconds to withdraw your weapons. Admiral Stone's response was swift and predictable. Fire on. Those ships. Show them the power of the Galactic Council. The Council ships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams, missile salvos, and plasma cannons filled space with deadly light. None of it touched the human ships. The Earth vessels moved like dancers, avoiding every shot with impossible grace. Their defensive shields didn't even activate. They simply weren't where the weapons fired. Then they fired back. 3 precise energy beams lanced out from the human ships. They didn't target weapons or engines or life support. They targeted the communication arrays of each Council vessel. In less than 5 seconds, the entire Council fleet was deaf and mute. Message sent and received, Commander Lisa announced calmly. Admiral, your ships are now completely cut off from the Galactic Communication Network. You can sit here in silence, or you can leave. Your choice. The council ships hung in space for several minutes, clearly debating their options. Finally, they began moving away from the human vessels. "We'll be back," Admiral Stone transmitted on emergency frequencies. "The council will not be threatened. The council will do what it thinks is best," Commander Lisa replied. "But next time, try diplomacy first." As the council ships jumped to hyperspace, Jake turned to Captain Vex with an apologetic expression. "Sorry about that. I was hoping we could avoid this kind of drama." "Jake," Vex said slowly, "are humans at war with the Galactic Council?" "Not yet. But if they keep acting like that, it's a possibility." Kira looked up from her science station where she had been analyzing the human ships. "Jake, those vessels, their technology is centuries ahead of anything in our databases." "We're pretty good engineers," Jake said modestly. "No, you don't understand. Your ships didn't just avoid Council weapons. They predicted where those weapons would fire and moved before the trigger was pulled. That requires computational power beyond anything we thought possible." Jake shrugged. "Like I said, we pay attention. Humans are very good at noticing patterns." Commander Lisa's voice came over the comm again. "Jake, are you ready to come home?" Jake looked around the bridge of the Harmony's edge, studying each crew member's face. They all looked back at him with mixtures of fear, awe, and curiosity. "Actually, Lisa, I think I'll stay here a bit longer. These folks have been very kind to me, and I'd like to return the favor." "Copy that. We'll maintain position until you're ready." Jake turned to Captain Vex. "If you don't mind, I'd like to help you file your report about this incident, make sure the facts are presented correctly." "What facts?" "That humans are peaceful unless threatened, that we prefer cooperation to conflict, and that we're willing to work with the galactic community, but only as equals, not as subjects." Vex nodded slowly. "And if the council doesn't accept those terms?" Jake's smile was as friendly as ever, but something in his eyes had changed. "Then they'll learn what humans are really capable of when we stop being nice." Over the next several days, Jake helped the crew of the Harmony's Edge prepare their report. He patiently answered questions, shared information about human technology and culture, and even helped Nix improve several ship systems. "You know," Kira said on his last day aboard, "you're not what we expected when we rescued you." "What did you expect?" "A grateful survivor. Someone weak and traumatized who would be thankful for rescue." Jake laughed. "Well, I am grateful. You did save my life after all. But you're not weak." "No," Jake agreed. "Humans aren't weak. We can't afford to be." "Because you come from a death world? Because we made it into something better. Earth used to be a dangerous place. Now it's home to 8 billion people who work together, explore the stars, and protect each other. That doesn't happen by being weak." When Jake finally left to rejoin his rescue ships, the crew gathered to watch his departure. He shook hands with each of them, thanked them again for their kindness, and made them promise to visit Earth someday. "You'll like it there," he assured them. "It's really quite peaceful now." As the human ships prepared to leave, Jake sent one final message to the Harmony's Edge. "Captain Vex, please make sure your report includes this. Humans are not monsters. We're not conquerors or destroyers. We're just people who learn to survive in a tough universe, but we're also not victims. We don't surrender. We don't give up. And we don't let bullies push us around. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to share peacefully. But anyone who tries to take that peace away from us will discover why Deathworlds produce dangerous neighbors." The human ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving the crew of the Harmony's Edge alone with their thoughts. Captain Vex filed his report exactly as Jake had requested. Within weeks, it had spread throughout the galactic community, sparking